everybody, I am back. It has been forever, I feel like. I have no excuses except that it's the end of the year. So I've decided that I am ready to make my first video of the summer, and I would like for this video to be dedicated to all of the people out there looking for jobs, whether you are a first-year teacher looking for your first job, or whether you are a seasoned teacher or a veteran teacher and you're looking for a change in your career. I have a few tips for you that they're going to help you basically land that job. So I have used all of these, and all of these have definitely worked for me. I've had job offers off of doing some of these things or all of these things. May not have taken them because I've been at the same place for all 10 years of my career, but I definitely have used them in the interviewing process at a time in my life when I was interviewing for other schools. I think that I'm shaking the camera. So our first tip is to make use of your connections. We might say, well, I'm a brand new teacher and I have no connections in the education world yet. Well, yes, you do. You actually do have connections and you may not realize it. So what I need you to do is make a list of every teacher that you've ever had, if you're still in contact with them or if they're still in the teaching profession. But I want you to make a list of all of those people. So look up if they're still at the school that they were at before, or you could even do a Google search of their name and the county or something, but just try, it sounds kind of stalkerish, I guess. Once that you really feel comfortable with emailing or contacting, I just went ahead and I emailed them and I sent a copy of my resume along with it, and I just let them know that I was getting into the teaching field and any connections that they had. I also, most of the time, and this was true, but most of the time, like, I would tell them that they've inspired me to be a teacher, and now that I'm in the teaching profession, I would love an opportunity to, you know, make a difference in the same community that they did. And that was always true, so it wasn't like just some fabricated story. I really meant that when I said it. But I would send some sort of email like that, and I would attach my resume, and almost every time, if that person was still in the system, I've gotten a response. I've gotten invitations to tour the school. I've gotten interviews that way. People like just making connections for me. It jumped me in one interview process, just knowing someone from that system. They didn't even work there anymore, but they did get me an interview in the system just because they were well known there. So I just recommend using any former teachers, administrators, and some of those teachers that you had in the past may be administrators now, so that could work out in your favor as well. So just scan the district websites, see if you recognize any names, and make some emails. That's not right. Write some emails. That sounds better. So the next few tips kind of go together in one big tip, I guess. So what I do is I bring some sort of portfolio. Sometimes I bring a binder and I have page protectors in it, and everything that I would like to show if needed are that I put everything in a page protector just so that it looks neat and clean and organized, like a professional looking binder or a portfolio. And inside I put several different things, and so that's going to lead into tip number 2. So tip number 2 is I have printed off my TKES evaluations. If you're from Georgia, you know what TKES is, and I'm not sure which other states use that, but basically whatever measure is used for your teacher evaluations, I printed a copy, and you could see my principal's comments there on the side. So the principal I could just show them a copy of my evaluations and they could see exactly how my former principal felt or feels about me, and that kind of just shows them, okay, they're not running away from this job, they're doing a good job, they really just want to work here. So that definitely helps. So the next thing that I like to put in my binder or portfolio are student exemplars. So think of the best project you've ever done in your classroom. Try to find something that's creative, that's hands-on, that's not you lecturing to the class, but so like a product, a student product, or maybe a before and after. So if you're like an English teacher like me, you could bring a student's first essay they've written and then the last essay they've written to show improvement. You can bring some sort of actual activity I recommend something that shows the student engaged. So I would bring the product of whatever that project was, or the end, what do you call it? Or the end assessment of whatever lesson you were working on. And then that way that's a talking point, because 9 times out of 10, they're gonna ask you, what was your best lesson? Or if you've never taught before, like if you're a first year teacher, what's your idea of your best lesson? And then that way you can not only talk about it, but you have evidence that you have actually done that and it was successful. So having student evidence or student work to go along with your best lesson is really a great idea. Number 4 is kind of well known in any interview, and that's to bring extra copies of your resume. It's also great to email it ahead of time or afterwards, but to bring extra copies, sometimes there are extra people that show up in an interview, and if you have copies for every single one of them, it just makes you look way more prepared and ready for anything. So I know that I've seen interviews, not necessarily that I've been in on, but at my school, where maybe 5 or 6 people are in the interview. So if you have enough copies to go around, that definitely makes you look good. So I would say maybe bringing about 10 copies of your resume. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's worth it. And then you could just go to Office Depot, give them your jump drive or your flash drive, and have them printed out on nice paper so that it's not like the regular white paper, and it's gonna leave a good impression. Tip number 5 might be something you've thought of before, or maybe you haven't, but tip number 5 is to wear their school colors. This not only shows that you've researched enough to know a little bit about their school, but it shows that you would have school pride and that you look great in their colors. So just having maybe your shirt, if you're wearing a suit, maybe your shirt could be a splash of whatever their school colors are, or even a combination of their school colors. Go all out with it, but still keep it professional, but definitely adding their school colors to show what you would consider school pride and that you could dress professionally in school colors definitely may leave an impression on the people interviewing you. Tip number 6 may seem obvious, but I've sat it on interviews where this does not happen. Sorry. But on your interview, just make sure that you smile and you show your personality. I think that people assume that they're supposed to be very serious on their interviews, and yes, you are supposed to be, but especially if you're in middle grades or elementary school, like, you have to capture the students with your personality. So if you can't even capture the administrators that are interviewing you, they're not going to think you're going to be very fun with their kids. So just make sure that, like, don't go all out telling crazy jokes and things like that, but just show that you're not a boring person and smile. You're smiling and that you're showing your personality and showing that you're a kind person, because that at the end of the day, like, that's really important, that you care about people and that you're kind. So make sure that you exude those feelings of kindness to the people interviewing you. Tip number 7 is to review sample questions. You can probably Google this and just look up what most school systems are going to ask. I mean, it's usually buzzwords are going to turn into questions. Like, they're gonna ask you about your best lesson usually. I've always been asked that question. They may ask you about a weakness or something you can do better. Obviously, I wouldn't lie, but try to make it, I mean, don't say, well, I never put in my grades on time. Like, let's not say things like that. But if you can find something that could have a positive swing to it, even if it is a weakness of yours, like, don't be cliche, but at the same time be a little creative when you're giving that. They're also going to ask you usually how you differentiate with different learning styles. Like, think of all the buzzwords you learned in college, all the buzzwords now, TKES, all of that kind of stuff, and, you know, just review in your mind like what you would say to those types of questions. And I'm sure you can just Google and find lots of teacher interview questions. So now we're at tip number 8. Tip number 8 is all about asking questions. Usually in an interview, the person interviewing you will ask you if you have any questions, usually towards the end. And I'm not sure if you're used to asking questions or not, but if you do ask questions, make sure those questions are questions that kind of show that how interested you are, or where your motives lie. I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna lose the job for you, but I am saying that if you ask the right questions, that could put it in the bag for you. Like, what activities are there that I could be involved with? Or ask them what needs they have, like what kind of sponsors are they in need of? What kind of professional development was available for teachers in the system? Or what opportunities do teachers have to continue their learning? Ask a question that shows what your motives are, and that will definitely leave an impression. Instead of them thinking that the interview is over, those last few questions really can make an impression. So tip number 9 is actually something you might do before the interview, is looking up the mission statement. Almost every school or school district has a mission statement, or they have a motto of some sort. My recommendation is to, 1, incorporate it in the cover letter when you send your resume, and I also recommend bringing it up in the interview. For example, if they seem to ask you a question about your philosophy and education, go ahead and bring up something from their mission statement and then say, well, you know, my philosophy and education perfectly aligns with what your school system believes in. And then you go from there. So tip number 10 is to show flexibility. Now, when most administrators are hiring or in the hiring process, a lot of times they may have several positions open, and they may not be sure which position you're interviewing for. Now, if you're not, and you would rather not get the job if you can't have the exact position you want, then don't seem flexible. But I'm telling you how to land a job. And if you want the job, I suggest seeming flexible. If you seem like you can't teach anything they bring up, that's gonna leave a bad taste in their mouths. Like if you say, well, I'm certified in this, but I've never taught it. Why say it like that? Say, yes, I'm certified in that, and leave it at that. Don't put a downer on any subject, even if you don't really like the subject. Get the job offer first, and then decide if you want to do it. But while you're in the interview, don't put a negative stance on any subject, especially if you're certified in it, because then they're left to question, okay, do they even like what they're teaching? You don't want to leave them thinking that. So make sure that you seem flexible and that whatever position they may want to put you in, if you're certified in it, that you're willing to do that. And finally, this is a bonus. I know the video says top 10 hints on how to snag a job, but this one is just a bonus. And don't be afraid to share your success. Or if you've brought a student from a kindergarten reading level all the way up to a 5th grade, anything that you know you've accomplished throughout your teaching career, make note of that before the interview, and don't be afraid to brag on yourself, because that's kind of what they need to hear. The things that are not on your resume, the things that are not on your application, you kind of have to put it out there. I hope that these tips helped you. Please leave comments below about which hints you plan to use, or if you've used them, how it went for you. I wish you much success in the future and good luck. Stay perfect.